Okay, do you have him set up for a seating? Because we
Right
don't,
there.
we need to space.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty
Is he
good.
okay?
Yeah, I guess so.
You look a little weak.
Well,
All right, we're live.
Your tummy ache, you got your little.
Thanks.
I'll give you a chance to, look over that stuff before we start the meeting.
hey Teresa, you got an ink pen?
I'll get one.
Okay.
I didn't think you'd call me, Tom.
Huh?
I didn't think you'd call me, so I thought.
Well, we just discussing who was gonna be the short straw to call you.
Okay, we're live.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg, you need one? You good?
I got one, thank you.
Well, see, it's a little past 8 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a while since we didn't do that. All right, start the meeting with Pam Goffnett.
Okay, first thing I have is payroll for all county employees for $144,616.70.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye also. Motion made, second, carried 3-0.
Okay, the next I have is minutes of January the 19th, unless you have any changes or corrections.
So motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second. Vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
I also vote aye, so that's motion made, second, carried 3-0.
Okay, and the third thing is an agreement with our GIS system with Indiana Region 15. They want to create a region-wide economic recovery and resilience plan, and I think Luke and Leah are here to talk about it.
Okay.
So I'm here on behalf of Indiana 15 as the project developer, and Leah Hawkins is our technical services specialist. In August 2020, the U.S. Economic Development Administration announced that Indiana 15 was receiving a $400,000 non-competitive institutional capacity grant made possible through the CARES Act. In part, this funding is being utilized to build our capacities and technical assistance to our counties. And additionally, a portion of that funding is being utilized to create a region-wide economic recovery and resiliency plan. Indiana 15 has partnered with Rundell Ernstberger Associates and ACOM to develop this plan, and upon delivery, it will contain short-term endurance strategies, long-term economic recovery strategies, and a regional economic resiliency strategy that will present us with actionable items to undertake. As part of our data collection effort, we are seeking your approval of a limited use agreement between the county and Indiana 15 to allow us to use your GIS data maintained by WTH GIS. There will be no charge for this, and this data and similar data is being requested from our member counties, and will be utilized for analysis and mapping purposes. And our plan is expected to be done by March 2022.
I know that Chris Goffman has looked at the agreement and has no problem legally on it. So any other discussion or comments?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, I guess we will have to entertain a motion to accept the agreement.
So motioned.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and second. We'll vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Carried
Thank you very much.
3-0. Thanks,
And can
Luke.
you scan that and send it to me?
Yes,
We
I
can send
will.
it over to WTH. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Here it
thanks.
is to sign.
All right. You don't fill out the rest, we just sign it?
Yep, you just sign it, I'll do the rest.
All right. Is that all you got, Pam?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is Brianna Walsh with Everybody's Fitness.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm coming to request again Spring Road closure for our 4th annual Tell City Half Marathon. The course, as it is in the county, remains the same as it has been every other year that we've done this. The only change in the course actually is that it's starting at the depot this year and finishing in Sunset Park, where in previous years we started between St. Paul's and City Hall, but everything else is the same. We'll have state, county, and local police involved in traffic control and safety, as well as probably 50 to 60 volunteers on the course helping direct traffic. We usually go through the week before and clean up Spring Road. We just get a group of volunteers and a trailer and we pick up all the trash through there, just so. We currently have 241 registrants representing 10 states, coming in for the race, and that will only increase between now and then. Probably the numbers that increase will be the 5K numbers at this point because of training, but we will get a few more half marathon registrations as well. About 40% of those runners are over 50, which I think is awesome. Runners, walkers, both. What's unique about this is it'll be one of the first in-person events that's happened for a while. And depending on statistics, we're prepared, we have chip timing, so we're prepared to stagger the start if we need to. And then the other thing that's unique about it is because of our local support, we're able to stay out until the very last person finishes. So we often have walkers who walk and take maybe 4 hours to finish it, but we stay there until the very end. And other cities, bigger cities, because of road closures, aren't able to do that. So that attracts some people from out of town as well. I brought some extra registrations in case you're interested in participating.
Is there a crawl? Is there?
There is, yeah,
That's
you
where
know.
I'd be.
So
So
unless
it
this
would
is
be
like a,
closed from 2:37 to Crossroads Church, there at that intersection near the Armory, as we've done in years past. Race starts at 8. The first runner will probably come through there around 8:40, and the last person I would guess around. So I would like to have it closed from 8 until probably 11.
Alan, do you see any issues with that?
No, we've helped them in the past. And I know you're
Normally,
right.
there's a sign up saying that it's going to be closed to make people aware who may
Right.
travel through there for hospital traffic. And then the barricades are set out ready for us to put up that morning.
In the past, Steve, did we do that? Did you, highway, put that sign up?
We took some signs down there and then,
Okay.
after it's over, they just set them off the side and picked them up. Down that way.
Yeah, they've always done an amazing job.
Did you say you wanted, would like to have, I couldn't hear what you said for sure, you would like to have a sign saying it's gonna be closed ahead of time?
That's what we've done in the past, if that's okay to do again,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can do that. Do you want the signs, the road closed signs dropped off at everybody's again, or taken out there?
Whichever is most convenient for you,
All right,
just let me know and if,
Okay.
yeah, either way is fine with me.
We had any problems in the past, so I think it'd be fine with those two.
That's a long way.
What time does it start again?
8,
On what date?
April 10th.
April 10th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, this is an old map. This is last year's map. Because it said April 11th.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Right,
Same
It
thing.
is April 10th, then,
It
okay.
is April 10th, Saturday, April 10th. It will, from here on out, be the second Saturday in April.
Mhm. Any comments or?
No. Do we need to make, we don't need to make a motion or
I
anything?
think we do to close the road,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll make that motion to close it on April 10th from 8 to 11.
Second?
Okay, motion made, second. I will vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Aye.
Greg? All right, and I also vote aye. Motion made, second carried, 3-0 to close it. Well, thanks for all your work. I mean, this is a lot of work to put this together. Okay, next on the agenda is Alvin Evans.
This is the last of these meetings for this purpose. Present to you the affidavit for the 2014-2016 bond, TIF bond issues. The, if you remember discussion in late last year, was to utilize there was enough funds left over in the TIF bonds to be utilized as the match for the engineering for the extension of Steel Road. That project was not accepted as a project for the 2026 fiscal year. So in that, a couple other things have happened since then, and one of them is the proposed TIF 2021 bond for TIF number 3. And in that, it makes it a lot simpler for the bonds to be, all these funds that are in the remaining funds in the 2014-2016 bonds to be spent. And so that's what this does, is we had invoices that were being held that would have been paid with the 2023 bond, or 2026, 2021 bond, and that then instead they'll be paid with these now. So, and they're a little weird in order because of the way we're paying out of it, so some of the invoices are broken up between things. But the Exhibit A is $10,367.82, and that's for Schweitzer Road site mitigation. The mitigation for Schweitzer Road occurred at the Cash Wagner site on Bear Creek, and that's the invoicing for that, and that's partial of a $39,570 invoice. Exhibit B is this 2014 B bond, and there was $197,523 left in that bond, and that's broke out between several different invoices then also. Then Exhibit C is the 2016 C bond, and that's $2,068, and that's a partial payment on the Riverview Industrial Park and stream mitigation that's occurring down at the Troy Monofield site. So between those, so that's the total amount, 1036. That's the total bond issue for cleans up all those bonds. So now all the funds will be expended out of the funds. The other two bonds had already been expended. Questions on any of the information that's been provided?
Basically just to redirect the money, and it doesn't affect the RDC's 2021 bond process or whatever, right?
No. Well, if there was still money in the funds, it could have had an effect on some different things that occurred, but now it's all clean.
Okay.
With them all spent, it's done.
What is the future of Steel Road now since we got turned down?
That's up to you all. If, I mean by, hopefully we'll make applications for next year.
Okay.
And there was 2 applications that came out of Perry County, not for the exact same pot of money, but it was still the federal money, and so I think that had some bearing on the not giving 2 of them money.
So they do that every year then for the call?
Yes, as long as Congress has the appropriations going, it's done every year.
Okay.
unless the law changes and they do away with this program, but I don't think I'll see that happen.
So does the commissioners have to say, go ahead again, apply for it? Is that what you're really telling us?
And sometime this year, we'll have to go through the process again of
Okay.
make an application for it then. And then, on the 2021 bond, TIF bond is being done, the resolution is being changed to allow the money to be spent for the preliminary engineering for the extension of Steel Road. And so the money's been taken out to pay these invoices off, but it should be available, then it'll be available for, if we, to make the application again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a need.
It definitely is needed, so.
Yeah, so. Well, any questions, I'll approve make a motion to approve the affidavit too.
Okay,
Second?
okay, motion made and second, and we'll vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion made, carried 3-0.
Thank you. I did do since the 2014-2016 bond funds involved, and then I give an update on where those projects are at, but listed in it, if you care.
Yep.
Okay, project one was a relocation of roads and grading work for Wapaka facilities. Well, that was a generic definition for Schweitzer Road at the time. So, and so it's relocated Squirrel Road and Riverview, and the Riverview Water Tower Access Road. And also, all work of that is completed, except for the monitoring and maintenance of the stream mitigation, which will be funded from 2021 to 2026 bond issue. So that's a ongoing expenditure that once the mitigation is done, you have to monitor and maintain it for a period of 5 years. That can be extended out to 10 years based upon the IDM's review, DNR's review and review of it. So raw water line work, project 2 is raw water line work at the industrial park. That was a relocation of the line, a reconstruction of connecting loop between the water tower lines and painting of the water tower. That work was accomplished, but it was not accomplished using TIF funds, except for one relocation. Some engineering work on the relocation of the line. That was accomplished by an agreement between Tell City, Perry County Port Authority, and Wapaka Foundry to accomplish it. It became what was about a $500,000 project to about $2.5 million project that would include the total relocation of the line through the industrial park. And then it also, the water tower with 3 more years on it needed much more work than was anticipated. So, but it's all good shape now. Project number 3 was grading work for a pad industrial park within the Economic Development District in support of Wapaka activities. That was original was Industrial Park South, and which the grading, the mitigation work started on it. It took a long time to get the bonds, so that ended up, and then also Riverview Industrial Park was included in it. Actually, was part of the project, the later project, not to be funded by the bonds, but things got changed when beneficial reuse material could not be used in Indiana to fill the ditch next to Wapaka, and so that caused a lot of work to be occurring in Wapaka then to fill the ditch and all the environmental and everything else involved with that then. So and so that was there, and then project number 4 was Wapaka Supply and Logistic Customer Needs, and that was the grading of Troy, the grading of the Troy site. So it was the purchase of the former Vetco property, the grading of the site, accomplished that. The warehouse construction, all that was part of that, and part along State Road 545 is property with the warehouse, and then the back portion behind it was the property went to the Perry County Port Authority for a rail yard. And then, and that, and the rail yard was then constructed utilizing EDA match on the money to accomplish that. Construction of the rail spur, Project 5 was construction of a rail spur at the Troy site. That was accomplished with the Port Authority, and that was also a 50% match with an EDA grant. Construction of new facilities at the port, including the loading dock and the warehouse extension. The loading dock was accomplished with a 50% match from EDA also. So, and then Project 7 was repairs to the Wapaka Railroad spur and sped tracks, and that was accomplished. The main line was accomplished with 50% match from Indiana Rail Service Fund, and then this Wapaka spurs 3 and 4 was 50% match from EDA. So all these 50% matches allowed us to do all the work that we did at the industrial park with the with the TIF money then. Project number 8 was a fund to buy down interest respect fund homes. This was sort of, if there had been any money left over, but there was no money left over from this fund bonds in order to accomplish that. And the proposed 2021 bond will fund the Riverview Power line relocation, which has already been accomplished in order to get the ditch fill accomplished, and the stream and then fund the stream and wetland mitigation, monitoring and maintenance for Schweitzer Road South and Riverview, and then maintain erosion control features at Riverview, and preliminary engineering for Still Road. That was all occurred. The warehouse, the spec building, shell building that was built at Troy was sold to Automated Routing, and Automated Routing is now operating out of it. So that was a short 3-year period. Seems like a long time when you're going through it, but when you look back over it, that's pretty short. And that the money that was made from the sale on the building was utilized to do the grading work at Industrial Park South, which we call for. Originally got delayed. So that 18-acre pad is there now, being promoted, and it's drawing interest. We'll see how it all pans out. So there's still other project. The main project. There are still other projects that were in the TIF resolution on the 2014. And those are reconstruction Anderson River Railroad Bridge. That's no longer going to be TIF of any means. It's a EDA loan grant was approved or approved for it, and it's an 80% grant for $4.2 million or $4.3 million. And then there's a USDA loan that's that has been approved, and that's for the $1.2 million. That will be used serving as a match. That's similar to what the hospital has, and it's a 40-year loan, and so 2.25% interest, something like that. And so we'll be that process is just got to approve a grant. Yesterday we had the meeting on the grant on the loan, and so that process will be going through, and so the county will need to do the backup for the loan as they did for the hospital, if you remember that. So that essentially the payments is essentially 4 rail cars a month, so pays for the payments. So it's a very reasonable long term.
What is the average rail car? Just, I mean, to put it in perspective.
About $900 was what.
No, I mean the average rail car traffic. You said it takes about.
Oh, railroad car traffic. It's normally runs about 800 cars a month is what normally 800 to 1,000 cars a month.
So just
like
4 of those will make the payment.
4 of those will make the payment.
Okay.
Will make the monthly payment.
That, not to mention, it increases the weight of those cars, which helps everybody out. The industries and you.
The replacement of the bridge is that's
Poor.
it's the bridge has been down at 320,000 pounds is now the national standard. We hoped that we were at 283 when the Port Authority was at 283 on the rail for a short period of time, and after a major program went through. And then these two bridges, their deterioration we're down at 268,000 pounds, which is the lowest that you want to be.
Yeah.
Where we're at now. Then, and it costs about $40,000 to $50,000 a year in maintenance on the Anderson River Bridge. And the risk of the Anderson River Bridge is that if it dramatically failed and you can't get pre-approval on environmental and plans and all that stuff. And so you're looking like a 3-year process to do that. So we would not be able to cross between Perry and Spencer County for about 3 years, and which would be disastrous to our customers on this side of the river. So,
So this is being proactive,
yes,
very much so.
Yeah. So
Proactive and a good ROI, because, I mean, like I said, it's gonna help these businesses. I mean,
yeah.
the heavier that
Now
rail
we
car
have-
can be, the better off they are, right? So
Yes, everybody would get back up to 325,000 pounds.
Transportation
And
costs
so-
kills people, you know, so.
Yes, it does. And that's a driving factor in a lot of this, in their decisions.
And I know it's not, but it'll help too with the excursion train, possible excursion train expansion.
Yeah, right now, because of the condition of the bridge, we do not, the Port Authority does not allow the excursion train to cross it at all. And now that this year they plan on running in Spencer County again, so actually the Port Authority will move the train, so it's across it in either direction, and that's with no people on it. And then once the railroad, once the bridge is rebuilt, then trains will be allowed, the excursion train will be allowed to run from Tell City into Claremont to Spencer County then, back and forth. So but not until that time. And so the other project that was the widening of the Wapaka Entrance Road, which, if you remember correctly, that project was done with the TIF District number 4 funds. That was approved to do that, and that was to address the safety issues that occurred with an accident that occurred in the road and closed it down for a little over 2 hours. 7th Street Warehouse, which was being used at that time by Wapaka County, is no longer there, so it's not part of the situation any longer. The seed money for Indiana for an innovation vocational training center, that's not been asked for. Grading work for a pad industrial park within the Economic Development District. This one was actually supposed to have been Riverview after they got done with their beneficial reuse, and the excess TIF would have been utilized for the future development of it. The excess TIF would have been generated from their investments in the foundry during that since 2014. And the second entrance into Wapaka off Relocator Road, which is what Steel Road Extension is, which we're working on. So we've been, bonds done their jobs and the funding, and we're well on the way as to accomplishing the projects that were approved in that review. Is there any questions on anything?
I don't have any.
A lot of work behind the scenes people don't realize happens, but I think it's really, really advantageous to our economic development.
It's not near as simple as what you hope it looks like when you get down at the end when it comes in, but it's not there. But on the 2021 bond, which is going through the beginning of the process now, we're working on the schedule now, so hopefully it'll be all completed by the end of April then, so that's the intent. So, and that will allow us to get all these things that have had to happen because of doing the projects that take on. Okay.
Right, okay.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Steve Howell with the approval of the annual report.
That's all I have.
So you got, did, y'all get a chance to review it?
Yeah, didn't have any questions myself.
I'm good with it, so
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it then.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second. We'll vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion made, second carried 3-0 to approve the Perry County Highway annual report. Steve, you have anything else today? Okay. That leaves us to miscellaneous. There is about 3 or 4 items on miscellaneous I wanted to bring up. Number one is the animal shelter update, so to speak. 2 nights ago, I believe it was, Candleton approved $2,300 towards the efforts of the animal control, the animal shelter. We are still in negotiations with a company, and I don't know if they want us to mention their name, but out of their respect, I won't. They're supposed to have a board meeting Thursday night, 2 nights, 2 days from now. And once that, once we get some sort of proposal from them, then we'll talk about an agreement. And hopefully it won't be a long process, but it does need to be a thorough process that our county interests are met. And we want to have input from the community, and include the Humane Society and other people that have a vested interest. And like I said, we want to do this correctly, but we also don't want to take 6 months to do it. So hopefully we can get it done in a timely manner. I know that Jim Carter had written a letter to the commissioners that expressing his concerns that we do this in a transparent manner. Well, I believe that I want to do it in a transparent manner, and get the Humane Society and all others on board with it. So, Randy or Greg, you have any comments?
No, I agree with you, Tom. It will be on a transparent. We said at the beginning, we needed the community to help us with this, and we still mean that, so. That's the only way it's gonna survive, once it gets started, so.
And I do know that the Tell City Common Council is, they tabled the funding, and because they want more details, and I understand that. I have offered extended invitation to Candleton and Tell City officials to tour the facility. And I see Luke Thomas here. The council too. I don't know how many of the council has toured it. I kind of forget to invite, but I want to extend that too. We have the keys for it. And the county owns it. We need everybody on board. So, if you want to bring that up to me or share it with your council members. Didn't mean to exclude you. Just sometimes you don't. In these times, it's hard to remember to make that offer. So, second thing that I wanted to bring up, there's been some confusion I think, and misperceptions on some of the health department overtime and who did what and who approved what. I just wanted to clarify what our roles were as commissioners. First of all, I want to thank the health department. They just done an outstanding job of and then putting a lot of hours in. But on May 19th, the commissioners approved to allow the health department to go beyond the comp time accumulation of comp time hours beyond what our policies are. And that was the official act that we took, that we allowed them to go beyond and build comp time hours beyond that. And we looked at it every month. And when we looked at it, in the following months. I'm not gonna break down every single payment, but we had CARES Act, funds available to us. And as we looked at it, we were able to pay their overtime up to, at that point. One was, I don't have the dates on my paper here, but as it went on, and things were moving so fast, and you can't have in-person meetings, and, but we were doing the best we can. We did try to minimize the amount of comp time that the health department accumulated by paying out their overtime with CARES Act money, which was available to us. We did not have the authority, nor did we approve additional overtime. That is the department heads, just like the auditor's office or the clerk's office or the highway department. The department heads determine how many hours their people work. Between the health department and, the health department board, then the health officer and down, and whoever makes those decisions is up to that individual department and that department head. It's just like there's extra overtime at election time for the clerk's office, and that's up to the clerk. The commissioners nor the council oversee the amount of comp time or the amount of overtime that they work. The commissioners set policy on how much they can accumulate, and the council decides if they pay it out or not. I mean, that's the checks and balances, except for the time when the CARES Act money was available, which was a very different situation.
But you did take advantage of that, and from my math, $51,000 of overtime was paid from the CARES Act, so that was good.
Yeah, I mean,
Three different times.
Yeah, I've got the different times that I didn't add it up, but that sounds right.
51,000,
Yeah.
sounds good, yeah.
Yeah. And, so, that leads to an explanation of the CARES Act disbursement of that particular disbursement. That was dispersed through Homeland Security, which come through the EMA office, and Steve Hauser's here, and if I misspeak something, correct me. So that's where the notification came that through CARES Act and with the approval of the Indiana Finance Authority, that we could be reimbursed for approved expenses. Expenses for the COVID-19, and that was kind of different. So we made several applications, multiple applications, and many of them got denied. Correct, Steve? Oh, will you pay for this? No. Will you pay for this? They instructed us to treat it as a grant that has already been awarded, but they would only pay out what was approved. So we applied 13 times. Yes, 13 times, and we applied many times, but we got approved on 13 of them. There's been some question on what expenses were approved. And I do want to say this, that when we first started this, we went down the road the normal appropriation, and the Finance Authority told us not to do that. And it was confusing for a lot of people, and I know Pam had a lot of headaches over it, and should we do this because it's not normal, and but we worked through it, and I think an advantage, because we brought $619,741 of that. That's what they said that they would pay no more than that. And talking to Richard Young and Mike Braun with and Larry Bouchon are senators and state and federal congressmen, they actually their intent was to put this number high enough that it got enough reimbursements, but they actually didn't think anybody would max it out. I mean, that was what I was told. But we diligently worked through it, and we ended up utilizing the reimbursement of the entire amount that was allotted for our county, which I thought we did a good job. A quick rundown. Request one was personal protection equipment, cleaners, masks, and ionization for the HVC for the courthouse. That was the $17,400 for that, but that total with the personal protection equipment that was needed of $28,030.80, and that was approved and we were reimbursed. The second request was ionization for HVC in the county jail, $13,500, and then some rapid COVID-19 tests for the health department. That total was $14,618.15. And I will comment about these HVC ionizations. The claim is that they, kill all the viruses, including the COVID-19 virus. We have had in our county buildings, there's been very little, if any, transmission within the buildings that we could track. So, I mean, I've got to believe that these systems work. I mean, the jail has had tremendous success in controlling the virus within their facility. So, is the major factor that ionization for the HVC? I don't know, Alan. I mean, I know you did your due diligence with but with as many people incarcerated in close quarters, and you didn't have a major outbreak. I mean, that's just commendable. I mean, if you think about it, and there was a lot more things done than that, but maybe that was a big thing. The third request was health department overtime, $30,124.29. Request 4 was cleaners, sanitizers, live streaming for court, laptops for remote work, communication and emergency equipment for transport vehicles. The transport vehicles were a transport vehicle for the sheriff's department, $32,219, and a transport vehicle for EMA. Now, let me explain those two. The transport vehicle for the sheriff's department, that took the place of a patrol vehicle that was going to have to be bought anyway, correct, Alan? Okay. And the transport vehicle for EMA, they would not qualify for other ones such as the health department and other county offices. And what we did was, since there was a transport vehicle for the EMA, then that freed up 2 vehicles out of EMA for other uses in other parts of the county. One, the health department is using for site visits with the sanitarian, and then also she used it to go around and do her duties as far as enforcement and education, or as far as the COVID-19 rules for the businesses, so that, and then the other one is a vehicle that it can be utilized for, any county department. It's a really nice vehicle that easily could be taken on trips to Indianapolis or, West Lafayette for the extension office, or also it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle that I think is being utilized now for the assessor's office to be going out and catching up on their assessments that they got behind on because of the COVID-19. So, and that will remain. So basically, we bought, that vehicle was bought and 2 other vehicles were made available to other departments with that. Request 5 was an ambulance, $208,012 with equipment. During this pandemic, we were utilizing a older ambulance and designated for COVID-19 transports. A better than 10-year-old ambulance with 300 and almost 400,000 miles on it. The engine blew on it, the engine went out on it. The $20,000 repair, the transmission was having trouble with. And when we made that point and applied, they approved that purchase. Now, the county would have had to buy, in the budget, would have had to budget for a new ambulance anyway. Well, this relieves some of that burden there. But was able to get that approved as a expense on the CARES Act, which I thought was very fortunate for our bottom line. We did look at, one of the big things that was denied, I forgot to mention that, is they did not allow loss of revenue as a qualifying reason. And we tried, and you know, whether it be tax revenue or revenue that ultimately led to a higher reimbursement to the hospital for the EMS services, and that was one of the things we didn't see coming. The lack of revenue, we feel, was caused by the COVID-19, but there was no way to prove. But that was one expense that was not allowed. So, you know, our hopes as commissioners was if we relieved the pressure of buying an ambulance, then that money that was going to buy an ambulance could help out on added expenses for the service itself. Request 6 was PPE, personal protection equipment, barrier protection, ionization system for the Army Annex and the North EMS and Highway Department buildings. Let's say, as these things came up, we tried to, you know, get all of our county buildings. We ended up with all of our county buildings that, including the EMS station at the hospital, and the old EMS station, which is now the Annex, what do we call it?
South Annex.
South Annex, which houses the Parks Department and Purdue Extension office. Those ionization systems were installed in all of them. Request 7, the Health Department overtime. Well, that month was only $79.28.90. It was a lot less than the others. During this pandemic, as the numbers rose and fell and rapidly, I mean, with no rhyme or reason, trying to figure it out, the burden on the health department changed dramatically from month to month. Is that a fair statement, Steve? I mean, so it was hard to predict. Actually, the last large outbreak, I mean, there was 30 cases a day. Now there ain't 30 a week. I mean, so I mean, it's just, I didn't expect that. I thought there would be a drop, but so we didn't. The point is, we really didn't know. Request 8 was signage for the new ambulance 2700. That was to get it lettered. I mean, and that generally comes out of, when you get a new ambulance, that generally comes out of the general fund. It's usually an additional we get once we order the ambulance. Request 9, Abbott rapid testing equipment for the health department, and a backup generator for the storage building and a future test site. The building next was built at the Armory. It was thought that and then again, we don't know what was going to happen. If we needed that building, if there was a total catastrophe that we needed electricity in that and lost electricity, that would this backup generator for that building, in case that building was needed for future test sites. At that time, we weren't talking about immunizations yet. And that was an approved, it's still a county asset, and it was an approved expense. It was $19,841.67. Request 10, more personal protection equipment. Coroner's floor refinished. The coroner brought to us that he was concerned that the floor in the coroner's office where they do autopsies was too porous and was not easy to sanitize, and if there was and there had been a couple of autopsies that that were suspected COVID patients. And the concern was, well, to stop the spread, they have to be able to sanitize and, their floors, so, that was an acceptable expense. And then the temperature kiosk for the courthouse entrance, and one time the big push was to take everybody's temperatures they walked in. And a lot of counties were getting these temperature kiosks, where people walk up, and this also can be used to, a lot of counties are using them too, to have people clock in. They're face recognition type. So that was 772803. Request 11 was webcams for the courthouse, video live stream for court, laptops for the courthouse, highway remote link, equipment install for transport vehicles and PPE for the jail. The transport tow vehicle was a Suburban, and we named it a transport tow vehicle to tow the emergency trailers, but it could also be used by multiple agencies. Actually would be used more for the coroner than anything, to replace the coroner's vehicle that was requested. And I don't know, remember how old that old van is that I remember when Darrell Riley was coroner, it was bought. But it was, you know, that was another, what we felt was a relief on the general fund. It's something that the council would not have to try to appropriate money for in the future, either in 2021 or on. So that, so it's a vehicle that's gonna last a long time. It had to be designated as an EMA / multi-agency vehicle, but it will be utilized by the coroner. So that total, back to the live stream for the court, that's so the court could be done remotely. We could do business, you know, as usual. The 12 laptops for the courthouse. I met with the department heads of the courthouse and said, okay, and at this time we were still operating in the courthouse. Okay, if we need to shut down again, what do we need to be able to do business as a county remotely? You know, and we come up with 12 laptops. You know, that was the best guess that was gonna be able to use those to do business as a county remotely. And then also the highway remote phone link, that was part of it too. So the highway department could operate from home. You know, the office staff at the highway department is 2 people. So I mean, you take one person out, that's 50%. You know, so we have to be able to, if either one of them or a couple of them were quarantined or isolated, either one, then they could still operate from home because the virus doesn't travel over phone lines. With that said, once we got those, and maybe we should have gotten more, maybe we could have got by with less, I don't know, but I feel that once we had to shut the courthouse down to public traffic, that we was able to function as a county courthouse and do business. Pam, is that a fair
Yeah,
statement?
we kept work going.
Kept things going, was able to do it. I'm glad that we invested in that equipment, so we could. And in the court also, Lucy said that she's one of the few courts that was able to function, and that's something to be proud of. Request 12 was the another health department overtime, $13,037.48. Then, as this process was going and we were applying for stuff and getting reimbursed for these expenses, there was some lobbying and stuff through the AIC and NACO at the federal level, you know, about a lot of counties, not just statewide, but county, nationwide, you know, we're saying, well, you get that money set, we can't, you know, we're gonna have to do something different. We, you know, we're not gonna get all the money that was set aside for us. So on and around September 29th, I believe is the date, that the rule change was that they allowed an additional, expense. And that expense was the budgeted cost of public safety employees for the county starting in March. So not just overtime at this point, you could actually, an acceptable expense was, the budgeted, cost to employ the public safety, and the public safety was the health department and the sheriff's department. So, Tasha and Pam with the, auditor's office helped Steve and, got those numbers together and applied and got it approved. And that took us to the maximum amount of the 600, that amount was, 102, 893.91, and that took us to the magic number of 619.41. And when that was all approved on the 11th of September, the county got reimbursed for that amount. And it obviously went in general fund. And then also on top of that, there was a rebate check from Ford on the new ambulance for $4,000. So that put 106,893.91. Now, in this process, the commissioners had approved a sheriff's department hazard pay. We had approved it, and that was one of the things that we were going to apply for. We approved that we were going to apply for that through the CARES Act. Well, in this time period, when they allowed the extra expense, we had still had approved that, but we hadn't paid that out, you know. And then whatever the rest of the whatever the remaining health department overtime, I don't have that number in front of me, we intended on paying that out, but that hazard pay and the health department overtime then by default, I guess more or less became the under the discretion of the council because the money was dispersed back, and they approved it. And then they also approved, and I don't remember if this was, I believe it should have been a council approval, that there's $22,142.72 that was put back into the Riverboat County share of the emergency fund was the name of it, and that was put back, and that was back into the emergency fund to put it back up because that was, expenses were taken out of that were actually qualified for the CARES Act. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, but that wasn't through the council. That was
Okay,
already.
that was just, okay.
Yeah, that was all
Yeah.
through the CARES Act, and then we had to change, remember, that's whenever they changed the rule that you pay it out of other funds, but then we had to reimburse it back.
Okay.
For the money that we got
Yeah.
out of the 102.
Yeah, but out of the 100,
Yeah.
the 22 something put back into the emergency fund, which,
We had to put it back, we had to switch it around, because we had to get the CARES Act to zero, because we no longer could pay straight from the CARES Act at that
Right.
point.
right, because the CARES Act fund basically was maxed out when we applied for the reimbursement of the public safety personnel. So we, you know, and hopefully that was, you know, a net thing. But with all this said, things were happening fast, and I don't know that I would have done anything different. I do know one thing, that there is not a chance to go back and do anything different. I believe that all parties involved, including at the point of time when the 100 and plus thousand fell under the control or responsibility of the council, I support what they did with it. I mean, I think they did. I don't have any reason to argue what was done with it. Now, they did choose to pay out some more of the overtime of the health department, and that became a concern. That, well, you got to remember that, and that took it way past December 31st, 2020. But we were told at the very beginning of this that December 31st, 2020, that was it. If you hadn't spent it, you lost it. You know, and the last thing we wanted to do was lose any money, you know, let alone hundreds of thousands of dollars or even tens of thousands of dollars. So, you know, yeah, we were trying to find the best way we could get. And like I said, if we had to do it all over again, knowing what we know now, would have done things different? I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I mean, I don't think I would have, Randy. And I know,
No,
Greg,
because
you were,
with
I'm
the
maybe not there yet. So.
anytime you make decisions, you gotta make decisions with the information you have. The big one was that December 31st deadline. At the beginning, I didn't know if we was even gonna be able to spend all the money because of that deadline,
Yeah.
because we was being turned down on different requests. And, hats off to Alan, Steve, Health Department, helped throwing us ideas, what we can spend this money on. We wasn't doing it for ourselves, we was doing it for the county. And, if you ever dealt with FEMA or anything like that, they want to fund things under the emergency situation you are at the time, plus future emergencies. And that's what I seen with this. For example, what Tom just said with the ambulance. They wouldn't fund reimbursement because we lost revenue, but they would fund a new ambulance. Not only for today, but tomorrow also.
They may have paid for a new engine and transmission into that, but if they also paid for a new ambulance, why do you buy a new ambulance?
and we was gonna
As
have to
far
buy
as
one
fix a
anyway.
10-year-old ambulance with 300,000 miles on it. I mean, that's,
And you know, in emergency situation, which we have been in the last year, you feel like you need to do whatever you can for the county to get it back on the feet. And that's what we did. I know we've been getting a lot of criticism from Luke and the council over this. I hope he has the time to speak on it here in a minute, but, I'm like Tom, if I had to do everything over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Cause I think we did the best thing for the county.
yeah. Now, could we have formed a committee and got more input and had public meetings with the committee? Probably could have, you know, anybody can be a Monday morning quarterback. I don't know if it would have changed the decisions. It may or may not have. It may have brought different ideas to the table. It may have brought better ideas. It may have brought worse ideas. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I think that we did a good job, or a good job was done, and it did bring a lot of good to our county. It paid for a lot of stuff that we would have had to pay for eventually down the road, whether it be now or a few years from now. But it helped us better prepare, and that's what it was about. And was able to utilize all the funds that were, we were told were available to us. And like Randy said, they just kept looming on that December 31st, and this is your guidelines, you can't spend on nothing else. Well, then they changed and allowed a different expenditure. They didn't, and there was a misperception by some, and I'm not sure who, but I did hear it, that, you know, well, they opened it wide open, you could spend on it, they just gave you all the money back. No, they gave us another tool. They said, okay, well, now you can get reimbursed for budgeted salary expenses, and that's what we applied for, and that took us to the maximum amount. Which, you know, it worked out well. It was like, okay, well, this should help. So,
But you know, even like Tom said, like I said earlier too, it's for the future. We used it in the ice storm with the technology with the courthouse. We didn't have to close the courthouse, period. People worked from home, still did their job. The highway did the same thing. I think Maryland came home and answered the calls during the snowstorm, during the night and everything else. And we couldn't afford all this equipment else, the CARES Act did it, and we're gonna use it from here on out. Just like what Tom said with the HV system here. You know, we get a flu outbreak, it's gonna help that. I mean, from here, next year, year after, so.
whether it's in the courthouse or the jail or the other building, so.
Yeah, so,
I
you know,
still.
I'll stand by my decision, as a commissioner, what we did here. And like I said, I would not change a thing, and I think we did the right thing for our county and the
Well-
residents of the county, cause, they looked to us to help them out, and I think that's what we did. So.
Well, and I agree with that, and on top of that, the money that was, available to the council, I support what the council did with it. I mean, I thought it, you know, thought it made sense, not to throw, you know, any burden or anybody, you know, we all 10 of us, 3 commissioners and 7 council, I'd wanna believe that all 10 of us are making decisions that we believe is best for the county. And I still believe that. I may not agree with some decisions made, but that's why there's 10 and not 1, so. I guess it's easy over in Kentucky where they have a judge executive who makes all the decisions. But,
Before you do, I wanna make a comment. I wasn't there, and I don't wanna be a Monday quarterback. I'm not trying to be that at all. But I mean, there's some expenses here that are obviously things that anybody would have done. I mean, there's 62K here for ionization units and PPE and all those kind of rapid response tests and that kind of stuff. To me, those make perfect sense. There's a health department overtime of 50K. I mean, that was great. And then the ambulance for the 211 for the new ambulance. I mean, you're gonna buy that anyway. And that's my opinion. If it's something you're gonna buy anyway, I mean, that's a really good call, because then all it does is it takes it out of the general fund or wherever it's gonna come out of next time, right?
well, and.
Those are, I mean, I'm just glancing through real quick, and I wasn't involved in all of them, so I can't speak to all of them, but those 3 there, I mean, that's 300 some odd K of it, just glancing at it, and then there's another 100 that you passed on, so 400.
Well,
So to me, that's what I can comment on, you know, as a newbie,
Right.
not being in your shoes,
But you
not
were,
being there during that time.
but you were a citizen then.
I was a citizen then.
Right.
But 400K of it, I mean, it's pretty obvious where you spent the money, so.
Well, and even like the ambulance, and I forgot to mention that, it wasn't a brand new, it was a, demonstrator model. Those have gotten so outrageous, I mean, and that was actually a demo model, and it was all but new, and it was a 2019 model, demo. You know, it would have been 250, 260 probably if we would have went all brand new, and we wouldn't have got it for, oh my, what's 8 to 10 weeks at the earliest, maybe 6 months, Steve? Is that about right? I mean, they're just not making it. I mean, so, anyway, I just wanted to.
So like I said, I didn't mean to Monday the quarterback, but just
No.
glancing through it, those 3 things, you know, if you lump those 3 things together, those things make sense to me perfectly. I mean, that's just, and then the other ones I'd have to go through more, but like I said, it's not my place to Monday quarterback at this point. I wasn't in your shoes, so.
Okay,
Say
Luke?
something real quick.
Yes.
I'm here on work, so I'm not gonna address Randy's comment, fully. I'll do it at the next meeting, but I think the council we have raised, I mean, questions that we think need raised, but I'm not gonna address it, cause I'm on work right now, so I'm not gonna address your comments, but I think we have legitimate questions and concerns, and, I mean, of course, it's easy for us to criticize, but I would say that we really weren't involved in this process, which we didn't have to be, because the commissioners had the full authority, so we're not saying that. But I think comment from the council would have been nice, and I think there's some items on here that I genuinely question, what could we have done differently? Because May 24th, Treasury issued guidance that CARES Act money could be used to support small business. Not a single dime CARES Act money went to small businesses. We didn't apply for the first round of COVID response grants. So it's stuff like that. But like I said, I will address these comments at our next council meeting.
Yeah. Well, and I do wanna, in this, like I told you earlier, I believe that everybody's doing what they think is best, and I don't wanna get into any kind of tit for tat, but, just a short explanation, the May 24th, it was, CARES Act money could be used for helping small business, but not this disbursement, you know, and should that grant have been applied for that wasn't it, well, maybe it should have, maybe it didn't get done, now we've applied for the latest one, you know, and moving on. I guess my point is, and I did come to the council, and I remember standing right there and explaining what was going on and asked for some input, but that, you know, and I just want this, I heard a lot of concerns that people wanted to know what it was spent on, and that's why I wanted, this is what it was spent on and this is why.
Right, which I think that was good, I think that was, because there's people in the public who want to know how this money was spent, because some people didn't even know we had it. And I just want to clarify one other thing, that the council only controlled $22,000. We had $9,000 that we gave to EMS and $13,000 in overtime. We only had $22,000 to deal with. We did not have that full 100,000 plus, because there were expenses, like you said, that weren't paid for yet, but you had promised to pay.
Out of the 22.
Yeah, so you had, out of the 100,000, you had the hazard pay, more overtime, and a couple other things. So we only actually controlled about $22,000, and we have about $1,600 left, actually.
Well, okay, I'm gonna make one more comment. I don't know that the numbers are as important as the process. You know, we could argue back and forth on how much you had control over it, but
Right,
the
I
bottom
just
line
clarify
is,
that.
yeah. But the
That's-
bottom line is, it is what it is.
Right.
And if people want to know what was spent, what was bought, no matter who had the control, and why, that was the purpose of it.
And I think this is really important to address, considering the fact that we're about to get $3.7 million. And we need to learn from our last process, what we did right and what we didn't do maybe so right. And I think that's why it's important to address this and that the public's aware of it. Because we're about to have $3.7 million that we need to spend very wisely. And so we need to be open about it, we need to be transparent about it, everyone needs to be able to give their comments so we can spend this money to the best purposes.
I agree, and I think part of that, the beginning of that process is when we're told exactly how it's dispersed, that we share that.
Right.
You know, so public understand that it's not just a check. I mean, I don't believe that
Well,
they're just gonna write us a check. There'll be a lot of.
The $3.7 million, it's coming straight from the U.S. Treasury. It's not coming through the Indiana Finance Authority. We're gonna get 50% of it 60 days from last Thursday. And we're waiting on the Treasury to issue guidance on how exactly it can be spent, because the bill says some things, including loss of revenue, small business, negative economic effects, so helping small businesses, nonprofits, anything like that. And then we get the second half of it no earlier than a year from when we get the first.
Right.
So we're getting this money, it's coming, and it's not a reimbursement process. We just have to send off a certification saying we're gonna use it for these things, and that's all it is. So I just think, because we've had this $600,000 and has been legitimate concerns raised, in my opinion, that we need to make sure that we spend $3.7 million the best way possible.
And I agree with that, and reading the email that I got about it, and a lot of reiterates what you're saying is that, you know, allowable uses, you know, and without reading the whole email here, it's about, for negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits.
Yeah, we could write checks to every household in Perry County if we wanted to.
Right,
Well, it
once we
depends
get.
on the parameters they send down. They haven't
Once we
set
get
the
the
full
parameters,
parameters yet.
yeah. And I think it's good, and this is to help,
That's the question.
you know, this act is to help the effects.
Right.
Where the other one was the direct expenses at that time, when now everybody figured out where we're at, then yeah. And how we have to do that process and who we have to bring in, well, that's yet.
Right,
that-
we're waiting on the Treasury to say who's really in control of the disbursements.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and what's the process that you do.
Right,
And
yeah.
once we do, I think that the number one thing that we should do different is try to have a better effort on making it public on what the
I agree 100%.
what the rules are, and then what the rules are and what we're gonna do about it.
Yep.
And regardless of who's in control of it, whether it becomes
Right,
the
if
commissioners or the
the
council.
council gets
Well,
full
I'd
control
like
of it,
to
I say I
finish.
want the commissioners involved.
Yeah.
I want people from the public
Well,
involved.
I think.
That's what I was trying to say, Luke, if I wasn't interrupted. Regardless of who's in control of the money, we need to make sure that all the entities are involved. And I think we can do that. I
Yeah.
don't see there are any issues with that.
Well, we
Right.
may call on Indiana 15 to help us.
Right.
We don't know, I mean, truthfully, we don't know where this is gonna go. I got a feeling that PCDC is gonna be involved, but I don't know to what extent and how this is all gonna be distributed. We don't know that yet, but this is good thoughts. But the number one is that when the rules and the guidelines are put out, then we definitely need to make it more public, however we do it. So, the general citizens are comfortable in what we're doing and why we're doing it.
And
So-
even if the rules say that one entity is in charge of the money, there's nothing to say that we can't, as a county, add to the rule set and say that it needs to be approved by multiple bodies or whatever, just to make sure that it's understood and we'll know.
Right.
There's nothing that says you can't add to that, you just have to follow the minimum.
Still unknowns, so, so we have to wait and see how that they hand it down to us and how it's gonna be, what the rules are and then how we follow the rules, so. The good news is, one of the things I see here, that, funds will be distributed by U.S. Department of Treasury, and the deadline to spend the funds is December 31st, 2024. Well, that gives us time.
We have plenty of time to get it right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. Mhm.
but like I said, I'm on work, so I don't wanna.
Well, I just want to answer the questions and whether there's a question on what was made, but the question come up, what was spent and why, and that's what I wanted to
That was
answer.
great.
And, you could spend days just saying what you would have done different, but I guess, not that it's important, but this is over.
Right.
And let's just move on. This is why we did it, people concerned. This is what it was and why we did it. We're not gonna quote, fix it by going back. I mean, that's my take on it. Just move on.
I agree with you, Tom. And if you got questions what we did more than what Tom answered, and I don't hear it out here in the community. I hear praise what we did, and, maybe I haven't talked to the right people yet, but.
Almost 20,000 people in Perry County. You can't hear from everybody.
No, but, if you got an issue with one of the requests here, we'll explain it more, Luke, in the council. Tell everybody that. And I'll go back to what I said. As a commissioner, I wouldn't change a thing what we looked at. Because of the information we had, because we were scrambling that, deadline until September came. And, if we would've knew that earlier, maybe would've changed something, I don't know, but we can't go back on it now, so.
Yeah, you just can't. Okay. Anybody got anything else, Ms. Williams? Steve?
Just one thing on the 102,000 reimbursement on that reimbursement up to 13.
Yeah.
We were scraping up with enough hires, public safety, to get that full 102,000. If we would have been sitting on 300,000 at that day, we would not receive that.
Okay. I didn't know where that number
We had to-
fell.
We had to be able to match it with public safety payroll. We were just barely able to accomplish that to get that 102. Without that, we would have lost money.
You had to match the 102,000, not the 600-some thousand.
Correct.
Correct.
102,000, yes.
Yeah, if we had to match the 600-some thousand, we don't pay that much out payroll. Not for those two agencies. Yeah. And the public service was just the sheriff's department and the health department. It didn't include EMS because EMS are employees of the hospital, not the county. So, I mean, that fell under loss of revenue, which they denied that.
Same thing for our dispatch. Tell City was able to use that payroll for dispatch, not the county.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, well, any more questions? And later on, I mean, this can be answered at any time, and I don't think we want to hide anything. I don't think we're trying to. And I did skip through here and didn't go down particular on, because we'd been here for days, because there was a lot of individual expenses. I tried to just hit the highlight and hope I answered the questions.
It was just lucky we got help, that's what I say. Cause, we're a lot better off than we was if we didn't have any for the county in a whole.
Well, at the bottom line, we brought $619,741 into the county. I mean, which
I mean,
wasn't
you
there
hate to get it
before.
from a disaster, but that's what this last year's been on, not only us, it's every state in the country,
Mhm.
and,
We want our fair share.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, anybody got anything else?
You said you had 3 things?
That was it. The 4, animal shelter, comp time, CARES Act, funding, and then the Relief Act.
Okay, so that all went together, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to number them and I lost count.
Sorry, it all,
I did too,
except for
Pam.
the animal.
Yeah, well, he said he had 3 and I'm like, I
Except
wrote
for the-
down 1 and 2, I didn't get 3.
Except for the animal shelter, everything else just kind of flowed together.
Flowed together.
Okay, well then that makes sense.
Mhm. Right, and the way I understand, there's very little overtime going on now, I don't know, do you?
I'm not, haven't seen the payroll yet, so
Mhm,
they haven't
yeah.
brought in the latest payroll.
So, hopefully it is, and for 2 reasons, that they give the people that doing the work a little relief and time to go home, and then a relief on where to, where to pay it out, or, decisions made to either pay it out or allow the time off for the comp time. We can't take it away from them, but, hopefully it'll take care of itself by reducing it, so.
Now, on May 19th, as far as me with auditing, I'm gonna ask, May 19th, you guys did comp time and vacation time, that they could hold and not use their vacation last year. So we're carrying over their vacation from last year, plus what they earned this year.
I think it's vacation and comp time.
Yes,
Mhm.
okay, I just wanted to clarify, because
That's
earlier
my
you said comp time, and you didn't say anything about vacation.
Oh,
So we
vacation,
do
yeah, yeah.
we do have their last year's vacation too, so.
Yeah, and
Okay.
hopefully we
Just making
can-
sure I was right on that, because that's what you guys done then.
And I'm hoping that this pandemic will slow down. Well, none of us know where it's gonna end up, but, hopefully this pandemic will relieve enough that we can get back to some kind of normalcy.
Mhm.
And the workload, relief. The shot clinic, the immunizations, that's going extremely well. I remember when it started, I asked, well, how many do you expect to immunize a day? Well, they thought they would max out at 100 a week on their weekly immunization clinics, but now Steve, and I know Teresa's very much involved, about 300.
300 tomorrow.
Yeah, so they've tripled it, so that's fantastic. So, things are heading the right direction. So we need to just look at that things are heading the right direction. We're utilizing a lot of volunteers, but there, still has to be, somebody has to run them. So, and I think we're doing a good job. Between the hospital and, I don't know how many hospitals are doing a week. 450, I think, is what the last time.
Yeah, I think it was like 420, 450 last time I heard. So.
Yeah,
And that's in 2 days? They do that like over a 2-day period, right? Yeah.
3.
Oh, is it 3?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's 140 a day or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
that's right.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I think. And we do have COVID-19 task force meetings. We were having them weekly, and now we're having them, every other week because of the burden has slowed down. So there's a lot of information shared there too, from everybody from the hospital, the clinic, and, EMA, and the health department, and the sheriff's department, and each one of the city government. So I was kinda proud last time, we talked to 23 people in 40 minutes, so that's not a bad meeting, so. We are on top of it, I think we're heading the right direction, so. Anybody got anything else? Next meeting?
Okay, your next meeting will be Monday, April 5th at 6 PM. That'll be here at the courthouse.
Okay, yeah, I think this worked. Hopefully we're getting back to that now. All right, see you all then.
Okay,